Hello, Cheri.
Hi, it's so good to see you again, Reena.
Same here. Thank you so much for doing this for us, and it is going to help a lot to all those who are listening. So, thank you, Cheri, for doing it.
Well, thank you for having me. It's so nice to come right across the sea and welcome you from the United States into India. I'm just want to just say I'm humbled that you would have me into your world. So thank you for having me.
I get a lot of kids who are as young as like 2.5 years old, 3 years old, and parents are stressing about writing with them.
Oh
So,
my goodness, a 2-year-old.
and then,
Oh.
my
Okay.
child doesn't have sitting tolerance. My child is not writing. What do I do?
Mm.
So, what?
So are they putting a blank piece of paper in front of them, putting a crayon in their hand, and just letting them scribble? Or are they having trouble because the kid can't have a significant start point and stop point and be able to write that B? Developmentally, they shouldn't be able to write a B until they're 5.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, what I encourage parents to do is just put a piece of white paper in front of them, put a crayon in their hand, and let them scribble. Just scribble, just back and forth, doing whatever. Let them change hands. Let them get used to this hand. Let them get used to this hand. And whatever it is that you do with them, just encourage them and praise them. No matter what it is that they're drawing, just praise them. The more that you praise brilliance, no matter what it looks like, the more positive you're going to embed into them, the better it's going to be when they get to the point where developmentally they can handle a significant start point or stop point. Some of the early scribblings that you should see are kind of like horizontal. Really, horizontal is going to be first. It's scribbling back and forth, and then you're going to get the circular thing going in there. We talk a lot in OT about having a significant the vertical line is first. If you really look at the toddler, they're going to scribble back and forth first. The horizontal is really going to come in first, and then it's kind of going to go into that scribble. I talk about really even putting a crayon in and having a single mark on a page. That's step one, and that can happen in that whole 2-year-old's range. That all they're doing in that 2-year-old is putting one mark on a page, and you've got to go with it. You got to praise them. You've got to give them that positive memory, and you've got to, for yourself, also portray that is a sincere, authentic,
Yeah. It's
positive. Because if you are saying brilliant, 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 and in your face you're saying, oh my gosh, this is not going to work, you're giving two different messages and the kids know it.
and they pick up. Yeah. They just pick up the body language very well. They have those
Mhm.
radars.
Mhm. So convince yourself that it's brilliant no matter what it is. And when they're not around, then you can cry.
That's a good one. What
But
about what about parents who say, my tripod grasp has not come for a child who's 2.5? What do I do with them? I
go
mean,
smaller.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I wish I had a crayon right in front of me right now. I break crayons down to this big, less than an inch. And I have kids, I'll pretend this is an inch long. And all I'm having kids do is I'm pinching them like that. And I'm just having them just make marks, little circles. I don't know if you have access to handwriting without tears in India.
We do have,
In
yeah.
the very front of the book, they have you color in those little stars. If you just have kids color in itty bitty circles with a 1-inch crayon and just have them move that little bit, they're going to improve their fine motor skills. And and if you can praise them for coloring small, it's only going to make it easier when they go to actually write something that's significant.
Yeah. And I think it's important to emphasize to parents who are listening that it's the gross motor, the shoulder develops first, the core develops first, and
Yes.
then fine motor would just come. So if
Yes.
kids are just allowed to play and just like be out and do what they're meant to do in that age, fine
Right.
motor would just happen, no?
Okay, so I want to go. I want to go back a little bit when you talk about gross motor. When we're standing, we're putting our entire weight on our hips. We don't take time to put our entire weight on our arms. The only way that I can get a child to put their entire weight on their arms is to put them up against the wall and have them on a handstand. Okay, so I'm going to shrink down a little bit here. So, so their arms are fully extended. Okay, their hands are flat because their hands have to be down on the floor. Okay, now getting kids to do that, especially if they have some delays in the musculature in their trunk, that can be like a disaster waiting to happen. I want you to think through this whole process though. If we're flipping our body upside down and we're putting all of our weight on our hands, what's that going to do? I'm going to turn. It's going to put extra pressure here, which is the weak part. This is the part that we don't get enough strength to help our writing. And one of the things that parents may not realize is that your wrist needs to go back at least 30 degrees to have really good position to be able to have that tripod grasp. So I'm looking at all those components as I'm doing any of this work that I'm doing and going, how do I tell that to parents? Right now, I'm doing a series on primitive reflexes, and I was really talking about the spinal galant and the spinal parese reflex and how that whole touching a kid's back and them standing up so spontaneously is just so disruptive to their learning process. And how many of us want to put them in a chair? Okay. You can't see it. I'm going to just turn a little bit and I'm not going to keep it there really long, but I have a whiteboard in my office. A lot of people have whiteboards in school. What is the problem with a child standing at the board taking their notes on the vertical surface? Why can't they?
And in fact, on a vertical surface, the wrist automatically goes into extension, and that's something which has to be encouraged, right?
That's exactly right. What about putting the worksheet underneath a coffee table and having them write like that?
Yeah.
It's going to force their wrist into extension, and the kids think it's hilarious because they're under the table. Now, you can't do it on a regular desk. You definitely have to get a low desk, more coffee table height. But there's ways that, I mean, sometimes a chair is a good height, but not always. Some of the lower chairs. But finding a way for that child to get into that extension and weight bear. So, one of the activities that I've been working with kids on is heavy books over their head and carrying them around. And it also elongates the body. It's strengthening the core because they have to concentrate on the book and they don't realize they're compressing their muscles in their abdominal cavity as well. Yeah. The other thing I like to do with kids is burpees. That exercise is so cardiovascular exhausting that it helps build their endurance. So you kind of gave me the look like you weren't sure what a burpee was.
Yeah.
It's a squat, back into a plank, back into a squat, and stand up.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Yeah. So if anybody doesn't know what a plank is, it's your weight bearing on your hands and your toes only for a moment. Now, I don't have them do it. So real intense physical therapy guys and stuff will have them do like a push-up. I don't have kids do push-ups. That's an adult thing. Exactly. But getting them to really get to the point of being able to squat, have enough core strength to bring both feet up and go back into that plank without stepping it takes a lot. I've got a 14-year-old who still can't go back into a burpee without leaping it back and leaping it back up. He doesn't have enough core strength.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, he's spending a lot of time reclined in front of a video game instead of engaging in physical activity. So I'm trying to encourage his mom to have him doing these. And I would say I'm starting now after a year to see just a little bit of improvement.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a very long time to improve any of those strengthening pieces, and that's what's frustrating sometimes about our job. We want to get them moving faster than that neurodevelopmental connection is made. Let it go a long time. Don't try to advance it too quickly.
Yeah. Can I share something here? So we do something like a Surya Namaskar here. That's something similar to putting weight on our hands. And we do that, it's like a common practice here in India. You could just Google Surya Namaskar, but that's what we do. And it's something like your Burby that you're mentioning. And the other thing, what I have seen in my experience is that, yeah, it does take a lot of time. But when we work on the primitive reflexes along with these things, it goes
Mhm.
it goes real fast because we are like working on those building blocks there, trying to
Yep.
build
You work on
them.
those building blocks, and then all of a sudden things take off like
Yeah,
lightning bolt.
yeah.
Mhm.
The idea of going under the desk and writing, because I didn't think of that. That was amazing. So, and it will be fun for kids. They would love
Yeah,
it.
kids love it. Kids love
Yeah.
it. I have a picture of one of my kids laughing hysterically at me that because he was having more fun being under the desk, being where mom told him he could not be. And Miss Cheri is going that, and I had gotten permission before I did it because you got to tape it up because gravity is going to take it away.
Mm.
So taping it up first, I had gotten permission, and he thought this was the absolute best activity in the world because mom said yes to something Miss Cheri wanted to be done because I work in their home. I don't have a clinic that I'm going to. I work out of the home. And mom was like, and you're not doing it when Miss Sherry's not here. Like, okay. But he thought it was the best activity ever. And he can't wait for me to be back in the home to do it again. Now, we're not face to face yet because of this global pandemic that we're in, but we'll get back there again.
We will.
So my name is Cheri Dotterer. I'm an occupational therapist for the last 25 years. The last 5 years have really been delving into dysgraphia specifically. I've worked in pediatrics for the last 10. Prior to that, I worked eclectically in acute care, long-term care, home care, outpatient, adults and peds, a little bit of hands. But I really found my passion when I found out that I have a higher level dysgraphia. My daughter has spelling issues, she's a twice exceptional child. So she is gifted in most areas, but struggled with specifically spelling. She can type like there's no tomorrow. So that part wasn't there. It was just spelling, and spelling still trumps her up today. And it'll pause you. You get stuck, and then you lose what's going on around you because you're stuck on that piece. And then it creates friction in your system, and you just have to get over it, have to learn how to get through it. So I was fired from several jobs along the way because I just struggled with my conversational approach to writing documentation. It took me to find the gift of being able to write freely and flow it, write a book, to be able to get through my dysgraphia and be able to share that with other folks around the world. Specifically, now at this point in time, I have a small number of people, most of them are occupational therapists. I have one that is a dyslexia specialist who have been certified as dysgraphia specialists, and the course is based on my book, but it goes into much more detail. It takes several hours to complete it every week. You get drip the course, which means you get like one little piece of it over 8 weeks. And when you're done, you have a good foundation of what dysgraphia is and how to implement activities in the classroom.